Spontaneous speaking video 44. Alright, so what's up everyone? This time I'm outside of McDonald's. Didn't want to go through Kmart again, so let's just see how this goes. Going back to school next week Wednesday. Next week Wednesday. So pray for your boy, hopefully I can get out all these other videos that I've been trying to do, especially the special videos, like, the misconceptions on Christianity one. I'm trying to do the SJ low-key suck, the NT low-key suck video finally. And I have some other ones that are trying to come out that I'm going to do a whole bunch more editing with. But for now, we're just going to hit out the more spontaneous speaking videos. In today's spontaneous speaking video, I wanted to talk about slaying dragons in your darkness. So basically, what I'm going to be referencing, it's kind of like a spin-off from two videos that I've done like a few months ago. One was complicated complacency, it's like spontaneous speaking video number 6. And then the other one, I keep on forgetting the title. I believe it was eating elephants and applying ointment to thorns daily, obviously a metaphor. And this is just going to be like a continuation of those two type of videos, and it's mainly going to center on personal development because this is a personal development channel. And so this video, I'll just go ahead and start it. This summer has been a great learning experience for me. I've realized that there's a lot of darkness within me, and I'm being so transparent with you right now. I know that there's going to be a lot of judgmental eyes, whatever it is, and I don't want to, be the type of dude to say, well, everybody has darkness in them. Everybody makes mistakes, but it's like, I want to look at myself. I really go by the saying that you should not trust a chef who refuses to eat his own food. I also go by the saying, I actually put this in as my yearbook quote. I don't remember if I made it up or not, to be honest. But I basically said, always make sure to peer into the mirror, or make sure to observe yourself in the mirror before peering out the window. And all these are just like spin-offs of the Bible verse that basically says to check the plank that's in your eye before trying to go pick out the sawdust in somebody else's eye. So all of that to say, yes, I discovered a lot of darkness within me this summer. As I've had a lot of time to, do a lot of self-introspection, a lot of reading, interacting with different people, looking at my motives behind things, looking at the actions that I carry out. I just looked at myself and I'm like, the things I struggle with, I'm like, dang, I'm not a good dude. And of course, good is relative, because in a sense, I would say that I'm a good dude because I'm somebody who, God being my witness, he could vouch for me and say, Denzel really takes his personal development seriously. He talks to me about all of his problems. He really observes himself, and every single day he tries to he tries to become a better person. He goes into the darkness within him, and he actually battles it. He fights it. And so one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of other people are afraid to do that, or they just refuse to do that, or they don't see the point in doing that. And I think that's a big problem. And this goes back to my complicated complacency video, and I don't want to be redundant. I really suggest to y'all, I really recommend that y'all go and check that video out. Even though it was one of my older videos, it was still something that I just watched it before coming out here to make the video, and I was like, wow. It started off a little bit slow, and I was thinking to myself, oh, Denzel, back then you really didn't know what the heck you were doing. And then after 3 minutes deep, then it's like, oh shoot, he's really saying something, or I'm really saying something. And I was re-inspired by my own video. I hope that y'all can hear me over this airplane. But other people, I've noticed that, like I said, we all have darkness within us. But so many people are afraid to pick up a torch and pick up that sword and run into the darkness, looking for any dragons that might be in there, and taking that sword. Well, maybe you're not left-handed. I'm right-handed, actually. So taking that sword and slaying those dragons. Now, That's something that I've been doing for a while, but more than ever this summer. This is all personal development. And this part of personal development is literally going into yourself, looking at your motives, looking at the temptations that you deal with, looking at the places where you fall at, looking at those dragons, the demons that you battle within yourself, and really tackling them. I would say that going right with this metaphor, this summer has been the summer where I've always known there was darkness, an uncharted area within me. And I had an idea of what those dragons were like, how many dragons were there, all of that. But I've always been, cautious to go too deep into that darkness with my sword to slam. But this summer, there's been a few things that just had me to go no, I'm strong. I'm not going to let those dragons keep me out. And I decided to get familiar with that dark area, with that dark territory. I decided to get familiar with the dragons that live within me. And I decided to get really familiar with my sword and just slashing away. This sword, being metaphorical, could be anything between, using MBTI's personal development, reading your Bible, prayer, spending time with God. That's a big thing, For me, personally, as a Christian, I prefer to use both of them. I prefer to spend a lot of time in prayer, a lot of time seeking God's face, because I believe that I can't do this by myself. I can learn all the MBTI stuff that I want, but without God's help and actually helping me fight these demons off, I can be a really good person. I can be really spiritually developed or very personally developed, but my spiritual life will never be where I want it to be. So as a Christian personally, I just use MBTI as a supplement to my knowledge and my seeking of God and my spiritual life. Now, you guys might not be Christians, and so y'all might have other philosophies, but at the end of the day, my whole message for basically this whole video is that don't be afraid of the darkness that lives within you. Don't be afraid of the darkness that's within you. Don't be afraid to venture into that darkness, and don't be afraid to slay those dragons. Now, warning, there will be times where you'll go into that darkness, dragon might catch you off guard, and you might, just get in a few slashes. You might not even get in any before you're pushed right back out into your familiar territory. It's all right, I got to train a little more. I got to prepare a little more. I have to have a better strategy, a better method to go into that darkness and then, attack it again. But with each slash that you're putting on those dragons, or that dragon, however many you might have, that's in that dark area, you are weakening it. You are eating the elephant, as I said in my video. You are applying that ointment. You are now bettering yourself. You're ameliorating. And that's all progress. But it's so much worse to be aware of those dragons, to be aware of that darkness that's within you, and choose not to do anything about it. Be too afraid, or not even see it as a problem. In my complicated complacency video, I basically mentioned how there's a lot of girls on Instagram who, they're like, yeah, I'm crazy. And they know that about themselves. That's good. It's good that you know that you're crazy. But what are you doing about that? You putting it in your Instagram bio trying to say take it or leave it? That's not good. How about let's make this a reciprocal type of thing. You can let people know hey, I'm crazy. You can let your guy know, the man that's probably going after you, yo, I'm crazy, but I'm working on it. Every flaw that you see within yourself, you can embrace it, but you also have to work on it throughout the process. That's what I believe. I acknowledge the flaws that I have. I acknowledge that I'm human. I acknowledge that I'm never going to be perfect. But in my opinion, I don't think that's a reason not to strive for it. If you shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. And so I just heavily recommend that you get familiar with your flaws. You get familiar with your shortcomings. You get familiar with the dragons that live within the darkness that resides inside you. And then you pick up that sword, you pick up that torch, you go into that darkness, you get familiar with that area, you strategize on how to defeat those dragons. And eventually, you'll have those dragons bowing down to you. you'll control them. You'll be that dragon slayer. You'll have complete control of who you are. And maybe not complete control, because then I guess that'll be implying that, you're perfect now. But you'll have close enough complete control. Close enough to complete control. I'd also heavily recommend that we do not judge others for the darkness that lives within them. If you notice certain things about certain people, don't judge them for it. And by judge, I mean don't be so quick to deem them as a bad person. Don't be so quick to shame them. Don't be so quick to beat them over the head with the Bible or something. Show love like Jesus showed love. Show love like Martin Luther King showed love. Show love like Gandhi showed love. So many people, love is so strong. It can really destroy so many evil things because it confuses the enemy. If you just overpower with love, understanding, patience, long suffering, which is a synonym for patience, you're going through that with that person, or you're giving them grace, that can really change someone. But shaming them will only make them feel worse. And it'll, if anything, I feel like a lot of times it won't even encourage them really to go and work on themselves. It'll just make them feel bad and then go into a more space of just trying to avoid dealing with their problems by also avoiding other people. Learn to accept others for who they are, but then within that process, help them to grow and become better. I like what Paul said in Romans 7:15-20. And to be honest, I meant to bring my Bible out here and, read that verse out loud for you straight from the Bible. But my auntie and them distracted me as I was coming out here. And essentially I was just like, okay. And I left my Bible at home. But I'm going to find it in this Bible app real quick. Romans 7:15-20. And just a warning, this is a very complicated verse, so try to listen carefully. For I do not understand what I am doing, for I do not do what I want. Instead, I do what I hate. But if I do what I don't want, I agree that the law is good. But now it is no longer me doing it, but sin that lives in me, darkness that lives in me. For I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my flesh, being a human being. For I do not do the good I want, but I do the very evil I do not want. Now, if I do what I do not want, it is no longer me doing it, but sin that lives in me. However, verse 25, for those of us who are Christians, thanks be to God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then I myself serve the law of God with my mind, but with my flesh I serve the law of sin. So that was a whole bunch of Christianese, and I actually explained this a lot on my Instagram page. If y'all go search it, it's DEEZY 2 and look at some of the scriptures that I posted on there. You'll see that one, and I wrote a little caption over there basically explaining my take on it. But essentially, Paul is saying, I'm human. Me being a human, I've realized that I have darkness within me. And I do the things that I don't want to do, and the things that I want to do, I don't do them. So we all struggle with this. Paul was a strong Christian, and he still struggled with certain sins. There's so much that Paul probably didn't even say, the things that he actually struggled with, but he made it clear that he struggled with a lot, and it was a daily battle. We got to eat those elephants piece by piece. Got to apply the ointment daily. You have to venture out into the darkness. Use that torch to get familiar with the territory. Create a battle plan, a strategy. And then start slaying those dragons. guess I pretty much summed it up. I just heavily encourage all of you to really go within yourselves, find your flaws, and don't just find them. Self-awareness is good. Personal awareness is good, but it's not personal development. That's how you start off personal development. But personal development is the action of actually trying to better yourself, of actually facing those dragons, of actually seeing, hey, how can I change this behavior of mine, whether I was born with it or not? How can I change it? How can I change this thought process to become better? How can I become a better version of myself every single day? How can I be better than I was yesterday? Right now, as I am, I'm actually very happy with who I am. I think that objectively looking at myself and observing myself, observing my behavior, all of that, I can say that I am proud of myself. I'm proud that I'm able to take a lot of ego blows. I'm able to ask my friends like, hey, is there anything that I do wrong that you guys don't like? And no matter how much it hurts, I can sit there and I can take that criticism, that feedback. I don't lash right back out at them. And I'm like, dang, okay. And I'm like, thank you. Just like I said last week in my video on disciplining children, taking that feedback and being like, okay, cool, thank you. And then keeping that in mind to work on it. Don't be so quick to just write somebody off when they're telling you like, yo, this type of behavior that you express is not good, whatever. But also make sure that if you're doing that to somebody else, you do it in a calm, gentle manner that shows them like, yo, I love you. I'm just saying this to you because I want to help you grow. I'm not saying this from I'm better than you type of standpoint, but more of in like, I'm your brother, I'm your sister, I'm your mother, I'm your father, I'm your cousin. I want to help you. I'm your girlfriend, I'm your boyfriend, whatever it is. I want to help you grow. I'm your wife, husband, whatever it is. We're supposed to be trying to help each other to become better. And that means we don't look down on each other. But if we do look down, it's only to help somebody else come back up to where we are so that we can continue to go up higher and higher and higher. Sound like Jaden Smith. But yeah, I think that's about all. Leave comments. Check out the other videos that I referenced. There should be like an eye, or there should be like videos displaying right now as I'm speaking and ending it off. But yeah, check out those videos and let me know what you think in the comment section. I read all comments. I respond to all comments. If it requires a response, and yeah. But thanks for watching. Done.